It's Friday, February 12th, and the time for your Barbados Today morning news update. The liquidation of the collapsed British American insurance company is expected to be completed by May this year. However, all creditors will not be able to recover the full amounts they invested in the company. Word of this from the man in charge of the BAICO liquidation, Dave Collins, who tells Barbados Today that the judicial manager, KPMG, has already dealt with the vast majority of policyholders, with third-party funding having been provided by the Barbados government. Emmanuel Joseph picks up the story.
Collins, who is Director of Advisory Services with KPMG, also the liquidator, said that this funding enabled over 10,000 policies to be transferred to Sagicor Life Inc. and more than $35 million to be distributed to eligible policyholders. He pointed out that while most of the policyholders have been fully taken care of under the final phase of the liquidation of the company, there will not be enough money left to fully settle with the remaining creditors. Collins told Barbados Today that although the liquidator has been able to determine that the remaining assets will be insufficient to pay all the creditors' claims, it is unable to provide a detailed estimate of what the creditors will recover until the claims have been reviewed. He said that review process was currently underway. In summary, the judicial manager successfully ensured that 3,471 health and property insurance policyholders were provided alternative insurance coverage with Sagicor General Insurance Inc., the transfer of 11,000 life annuity insurance policies to Sagicor Inc., the distribution of $35 million to those policyholders with unpaid insurance claims, and 71 employee pensioners received a total of $4.5 million of accrued pension benefits, as well as a guaranteed future income from Sagicor. The final phase of the liquidation process of British American Insurance Company is expected to be completed by May this year. Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
Much needed chemical reagents for the Best Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory to fast-track COVID-19 testing have finally arrived and have been pressed into service without delay. Word of this came on Thursday from Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George, and he's counting on the arrival of the reagents to address the backlog of tests that has frustrated visitors and residents alike.
At this point in time, we are struggling on many fronts. One of our major struggles is the issue with lab reagents. Unfortunately, my understanding is that some lab reagents have arrived this afternoon, so we could speed up the testing because we are testing too slowly. And the test results are from days into the past, which we should not be doing. So we have gotten some good news that we got some testing results, some testing reagents, and we're going to work to suit.
A road rehabilitation project that should have lasted only about 3 months in a St. John community has now been on pause for the past year. The roadway at Port House was started at the end of 2019 with a promise from government that it would be completed in about 3 months' time, but that has yet to materialize. The project is now on pause as a result of the COVID-19 national lockdown. When a Barbados Today team visited the area on Thursday to see how residents were coping with the present conditions, they said while they understood the reasons behind the pause, it was still important that the road be fixed soon.
It's only now since this government get in that something is really happening. We are seeing a little improvement. But with the other government, nothing has been done. With all the prime ministers we had, and even with housing, it's only a few people that was, picked out. And I don't think that is right, because we are all citizens of this country. So not it shouldn't go individually. And I am hoping to see some development as down in here. As for myself, at this age, to climb that hill is not easy, and I wish they would have the road rectified complete as soon as possible, that we can have transportation.
It's horrible. I think that it should have been fixed already. But they're trying now. this new government really working. But with the past government, forget it. They didn't do nothing. Forget down here. Forgot down here. But this guy that working that just got in for St. John, he really trying. He's trying.
The water situation has improved significantly, so I'm grateful for that. But the road is still deplorable. If you check, obviously you drove down here, so you see at top the marl isn't rolled properly. You know, I commend MTW for the little they did, because they patched the holes, so it's a lot better than what we had, but still we need the road finished. So, and it's not a road that you could fix easily, but the time span in which the PM had given, the road should have been completed by now. It's atrocious. I understand it's COVID, but as you know, you were at the meeting, and it was budgeted. So the money should have been there to complete the road, and the time span that was given, she wanted it concluded by November, and this was November of 2019. You understand? I understand COVID, but COVID came after that. So the road, if the road had completed by November, the time span that she had given, then we would have run into COVID. I understand it's easy for me to say fix a road when we have people on the breadline, people dying. I understand. That's a grave concern. By any day, the country still has to function. People still have to drive on adequate roads. You understand? So we got to balance both.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region, Guyana gets ready to roll out its vaccination program against COVID-19. Yesterday, a pharmacist at the Georgetown Hospital became the first person in the country to get a jab of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Health officials are hoping to immunize 80% of the population against the viral illness. More in this report from Gordon Mosley of News Source, Guyana.
Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony explained to reporters that as part of the rollout, the Ministry of Health will embark on a major information campaign to better educate persons about the vaccine and coronavirus itself.
We would really need a lot of public education to ensure that people understand how vaccines work, how they can protect you, and also to dispel some of the negativity that surrounds vaccine, because there are persons who are totally against vaccines, and that's not going to be helpful in this fight against the pandemic.
The Health Ministry's plan is to get all health workers vaccinated within the next few weeks. There are more than 22,000 health workers to be vaccinated. Guyana is to receive more than 100,000 doses of the vaccines through the COVAX initiative, with additional vaccines from India and through a CARICOM African Union partnership.
We are starting today, but by the end of the month and going into March, our hope is that every single health worker would be able to get vaccinated. So we will have by then enough doses of vaccines to be able to provide to every single health worker, whether you're in the public sector or in the private sector.
And finally, U.S. President Joe Biden said his administration has secured another 200 million vaccine doses as the country continues to grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic and vaccination sites run low on supply. More from Reuters TV.
We're now on track to have enough supply for 300 million Americans by the end of July.
Building on his pledge to speed up the fight against COVID-19, President Joe Biden on Thursday announced the U.S. has secured 200 million more vaccine doses.
Just this afternoon, we signed the final contracts for 100 million more Moderna and 100 million more Pfizer vaccines. We're also able to move up the delivery dates with an additional 200 million vaccines to the end of July, faster than we expected. And in further good news, both companies agreed And we're now contractually obligated to expedite delivery of 100 million doses that were promised by the end of June to deliver them by the end of May. That's a month faster. That means lives will be saved.
Inoculations couldn't be more urgent, Biden said, as the U.S. is closing in on a death toll of 500,000 people.
You've heard a lot about these variants.
Speaking with his mask on after touring the National Institutes of Health, Biden blasted former President Donald Trump for handing his administration a flimsy vaccine distribution plan.
While scientists did their job in discovering vaccines in record time, my predecessor, to be very blunt about it, did not do his job in getting ready for the massive challenge of vaccinating hundreds of millions of Americans. He didn't order enough vaccines. He didn't mobilize enough people to administer the shots.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.